Imagine going on a first date with someone who seems fascinating. They're smart, confident, intense, the kind of person who seems to see the world differently. You sit across from them, maybe over coffee or in a quiet room, and the conversation isn't about favorite movies or weekend plans. It's about the nature of evil, the psychology of obedience, what makes good people do terrible things. And then they ask you if you want to see something no one else has seen. You say yes, and by the end of the night, you're staring at a nightmare, a twisted version of reality that you weren't ready for. This isn't fiction. This happened. And what makes it so terrifying is that it was all in the name of science. This is the true story of the scariest first date in history and the psychology that changed everything. In 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo was preparing an experiment that would go on to become one of the most infamous in the history of behavioral science. But just before the experiment began, something unexpected happened. He met someone. Her name was Christina Maslach. She was a graduate student, intelligent, deeply thoughtful, and fiercely empathetic. Their connection was instant. They talked about ideas, morality, the human mind. But their first real evening together wasn't a typical date. It would become a test, not just of chemistry, but of conscience. Zimbardo invited her to observe his new experiment. He described it as a simple simulation, a role play involving student volunteers assigned as guards and prisoners, a 2-week study to explore how environment shapes behavior. When Christina stepped into the basement where the experiment was being held, what she saw would shake her to her core. Students dressed as guards were shouting at others who had been stripped, numbered, and locked in tiny cells. The prisoners were showing signs of severe emotional distress. Some were breaking down, crying, pleading to leave. But the guards, they had started to enjoy the power. No one was stopping them, not even Zimbardo. What was supposed to be an academic exercise had become something much darker. Christina was horrified. She turned to Zimbardo and told him something that no one else had dared to say. "What you're doing is wrong. You've lost your sense of what's real." In that moment, the date ended, and something bigger began. Zimbardo was shaken. For the first time, he looked at the experiment through someone else's eyes. Someone who wasn't caught up in the system, the roles, the theory. Someone who still saw people as people. The next morning, he shut the experiment down. It had only lasted 6 days. This moment, born from what was supposed to be a romantic evening, became a turning point in the history of psychology. Because it exposed something deeply uncomfortable. How quickly humans can lose their humanity when placed in the wrong situation, and how rare it is for someone to speak up. Zimbardo would go on to develop the theory known as the Lucifer effect, the idea that good people can be led to do evil things, not because they're inherently bad, but because the system around them allows it, even encourages it. What makes this story so disturbing isn't just what happened in the experiment. It's how easily it happened, how quickly ordinary college students adapted to their roles, how fast empathy disappeared, and how no one, not even the one in charge, saw it until someone from the outside pointed it out. This wasn't just a first date. It was a confrontation with the truth about human behavior. And here's what's even more unexpected. Despite everything, Zimbardo and Christina stayed together. In fact, they got married. She became not just a critic of his work, but his partner in reshaping the ethics of psychological research. Together, they helped define the moral boundaries that now govern how experiments are conducted. But the shadow of that first date still lingers, because what it revealed wasn't just about an experiment, it was about all of us. We like to believe we would be the exception, that in a system designed to strip people of identity, we'd hold on to our values, that if we were given power, we'd use it wisely. But the truth is, most of us don't know what we do they're in the situation, and by then, it might be too late. That's why this story matters, because it reminds us that evil doesn't always announce itself. It creeps in through systems, uniforms, titles, and silence. And the scariest part, it doesn't require a villain, just people who stop asking questions. What saved the day wasn't authority, it wasn't science. It was one person's courage to say, "This is wrong." Sometimes the scariest first dates are the ones that make you look in the mirror. And sometimes they're the ones that save lives. Please subscribe to our channel. You're the reason we keep creating, growing, and moving forward. Thank you for watching.